Hi, hello students. Today we're talking about adding and subtracting decimals. Decimals are similar to fractions as they are both parts of wholes. We don't have a whole value or a whole pizza, we only have part of it. So therefore, we have decimals and fractions relate to each other. So let's talk about our steps. When we're adding and subtracting decimals, the first step is to first line up the decimal. We want to make sure those decimal points are lined up one over the other to make sure our place values are lined up. The ones places line up with the ones, the tenths places line up with the tenths, and hundreds, thousandths, and so forth. Once we do that, we go ahead and we add and subtract numbers like normal. We just add straight down, subtract straight down, borrow, carry, whatever we need to do to add and subtract. Once we've added and subtracted, then we just bring down the decimal point. We bring the decimal point straight down um, because they are lined up to each other. So let's go and put those steps now into action and add these two numbers together. We have 8.13 or 8 and 13th hundredths. So what we're going to do is we are going to line up the decimals. We have these two decimal points right here, the decimal point here, and the decimal point here. So we have 8.13 being added to 2.76. Now, all we have to do is simply line up these decimals. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this one and we're going to bring it down underneath the 8.13. So let's go ahead and line up the decimals. Remember, the decimal points need to be lined up. So let's go ahead and put that decimal point right there. That means it goes 2.76. So go and line that straight up. That's step one. Step two is to add or subtract like normal. Well, this one we're actually adding. So let's go ahead and add straight down. 3 plus 6 is 9. 1 plus 7 is 8. And 8 plus 2 is 10. Since there's no other numbers to the left, we just go ahead and put the 10. Step 3 now says to bring this decimal point straight down. So we go ahead and we bring it straight down right here. So our final answer is 10.89 or 10 and 89 hundredths because this is the hundredths place that the 9 is in. All right, so that's how you do the first one. Let's go and look at another one. On this one now, we go ahead and we have the same type of problem. We have an addition of decimals, 1.45 being added to 23.7. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and we're going to line up the decimals. So let's go ahead and put our decimal point right underneath the decimal point. Well, on this one, we have 23. So therefore, we have to put the 20, the 2, and the 3 on the left side of the decimal. This lines up the ones place value with the 1 and 3, line up together. And then we go ahead and we write the other, or our tenths place, our decimal, 0.7. Now, what we always like to do is if there's nothing underneath or above a number, like there's nothing underneath a 5 here, we want to simply fill it in with a 0. Because nothing exists in that place value for that number, so we want to simply fill it in. So now we have something to add straight down. We don't like to have those little spaces there. We don't have to put the 0 there, but it makes it look a little bit better to make the addition a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and now add straight down. So 5 plus 0 would be the 5. This also helps us get confused from adding 5 and 7 together. 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 7 is 11. So we want to go ahead and put the 1 there. Carry the 1. And now we want to add 3 plus 1 is 4 plus the 1 is 5. Nothing is being added to the 2, so we just go ahead and bring down the 2. The last step, of course, is to bring this decimal point straight down, so it'll fit right there. So our final answer is 25 and 15 100ths, or 15 hundredths. So there you go. There's our addition of decimals. So we want to make sure we line up the decimals, put any zeros that kind of are missing, that are not under, nothing's either underneath the number or above it, and then add straight down. Let's go ahead and look at some subtraction problems now. So the steps are exactly the same. We first want to line up the decimals, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, the reason why we always bring this down is because we're subtracting 3 and 17 hundredths from 5.51. So let's go ahead and line up the decimals. First thing we do, line up the decimals. But we're not adding this time. I was going to put addition. Let's go ahead and erase that. Let's go ahead and put the subtraction symbol. Well, if we look at this, we can't go 1 minus 7. That doesn't work. We need to borrow from the 5. So we need to borrow, cross out the 5. Remember, we make this into a 4 because we're taking 1 away from it, or taking a 10 away from it, and this becomes 11. And so 11 minus 4 is, 11 minus 7 is 4. Excuse me, I was giving you the answer. And then 4 minus 1 is 3. So just subtracting like normal once we do that borrowing. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. Last step, go ahead and bring down the decimal. We have 2.34, or 2 and 34 hundredths. Now, of course, you can always estimate or check your answer. What is 5 minus 3? Kind of looking at just the whole values. 5 minus 3 is 2. And this is pretty close to 2. So we know that's a reasonable answer for our subtraction. All right, you can go ahead and I'm running out of time, so you can go ahead and go to the next video. You're going to watch the second one, and then you go ahead and have your own to work on. All right, students, let's go ahead and finish up our lesson on decimals, adding and subtracting decimals. We went over problem 3, so let's go ahead and go over problem 4. We have 21.9 minus 1.65. So let's go ahead and do the same thing we've been doing. Actually, I'm going to rewrite the whole problem over here. We have 21.9 being subtracted from, remember, line up our decimals. There's only a ones to the left, so the ones place line up. 6 and a 5, so 1.65. So let's go and draw our equal line, and let's go ahead and now do the subtraction. Well, like problem 2 above, if we look here above the 5, there's nothing above the 5. So especially for subtraction, we need to add the 0. Why? Because we're subtracting. We can't just bring down this 5. A lot of people make the mistake of bringing down just the 5. This is 0 minus 5, which we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 9. This is one reason why putting that 0 and above the 5 is very important. So because we can't go 0 minus 5, we have to borrow from the 9. We cross out the 9. We take 1 away from it. It becomes 8. And then we add the 10 to the tens place to the 0. So now we have 10 minus 5. And 10 minus 5, of course, is 5. And if you would have brought the 5 straight down, you still would have had this right here, but you would have had 9 minus 6, which is incorrect. So now we have to do the correct subtraction. 8 minus 6. And when we do the 8 minus 6, of course, we get 2. If you want to, as you're going through this, you can drop the decimal point down as you're going through it. That's what I like to do. And then the last part, of course, is subtracting. 1 minus 1 is 0. So we have 0 in the ones place. And then the 2, well, there's nothing here. You can put the 0 here, or just go 2 minus 0, or 2 minus nothing is the 2. So our final answer would be 20 and 25 hundredths. And we kind of can always double check, does this make sense? I have 21 here, I have 1 here, 21 minus 1 is about 20. And of course, yeah, that's about 20. So that makes sense. All right, so we went over a few problems, a few addition problems, a few subtraction problems. Now I'd like you to go and try a couple on your own. Just one addition and one subtraction. So remember, line up the decimals, add straight down, or subtract straight down. This time I'm just going to give you the answers. I'm not going to work through them. And if you get the answers incorrect, I'd like you to raise your hand so I can see what you did. So we can have a conversation about what mistake we made so that we can fix it when we start the assignment. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and give them a try. Come back and I will give you the answers. All right, welcome back, students. Let's go ahead and go over the answers. Let's talk about what the answer should be. So go ahead and if we lined up the decimals and we added straight down, we should have gotten 15.056. The second one, when you did the subtraction, well, we should have gotten 0.97. And if you look at this one, the 0 doesn't have to be here. I like to place it here because I like to have something on both sides of the decimal. If I have something on the right, I always like to at least have the 0 on the left. So these are your two answers for 5 and 6. If you got these answers, great. You're ready to move on to the assignment. If you did not, please raise your hand so I can come by and I can check your work to see where we made our mistake. So when we start our assignment, you're not making the same mistakes. All right, so go ahead and stop the video and go ahead and get started on your assignment.